Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, and it's fantastic to be here today in Paris and at VivaTech. And you know, it's pretty amazing when you think about the day that we're living in, the age we're living in, and the technology and its impact, the opportunity it creates for everyone. Perhaps the best way to even capture what this technology shift means is a quote I came across a few years ago, but it was from way back in the late 80s by Mark Weiser. And Mark had sort of really written a very influential paper. He was at Xerox PARC at that time, and he wrote this very influential paper on ubiquitous computing, where he imagined a very bright future. But the thing that he talked about is this thing which is most profound technologies disappear. And that's what's happening. All around us, digital technology is just becoming a fundamental part of our fabric of life. Whether it is in our homes, whether it is in our work, whether it is in every part of our society and our economy, you have digital technology. In fact, one of the most fascinating things to see is the amount of compute power that is there at the edge today. Whether it's, again, in your car. In fact, one of the things I recently went back and looked at is the amount of GPU, or the graphical processing unit, power that's going to be in a car because of autonomy, is more than what used to be there in a data center from a few years ago. So wherever you have this type of compute power, where you have lots of data being generated and reasoned over in real time, you're going to create amazing, amazing experiences. So it doesn't matter which sector of the economy, you can see the power of computation being embedded in the world. And that is why I think all of us in technology are very excited. The opportunities seem endless. But with these opportunities, though, also comes tremendous responsibility. That's something that we as a tech industry have to scale, to recognize and act. When we think about the responsibility, let's think about privacy. I mean, on the 25th of May, the world will change. With GDPR, we will now have to operate recognizing that privacy is a human right. Just this week, we announced that the core data rights, the data subject rights that are at the core of GDPR is something that we will take to every part of the world that we operate in. Security. We led the coalition of 34 tech companies to essentially create what is today's Geneva Convention. Because one of the things that happens when a cyber attack is launched by anyone is the people who are most vulnerable, that is the citizens of our countries and the small businesses who get most impacted. So we have to, as a tech industry and governments, really step up to ensure that those vulnerable populations and organizations are protected because of cyber. And lastly, it's the ethics, the principles that guide the development of perhaps the most defining technology of our times, which is AI. You know, the idea that some technology is going to come along and transcend even human capability has been there with us all the years. But what has guided us in developing new technology is a set of human values and principles that have guided the choices we make. The future we will invent is a choice we make, not something that just happens. And so for me, that's why having these ethical principles, we formed a committee inside the company, which is a diverse body that's guiding the products we create, the projects we engage. That's something that we're going to share broadly. We're going to learn from others, but that's the spirit. But since we are an AI company, it's not just the ethical principles, but also turning the practice of AI into a first-class engineering discipline. We're all used to, in engineering systems, having data sheets, except We now need data sheets for data. Where did the data come from? What should be its uses? We need to be able to, in fact, take some of the language models that we use in machine learning, which obviously learns from data that is existing around us, and de-bias it. Because after all, when you train a machine model on language that exists in the world, that language already has human bias, and we need to be able to really have techniques to de-bias it. These are all tools that we as a company are creating. So this opportunity and responsibility is what grounds us as a company in our mission to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. For me, this is more than a set of words. We always go back to this as a source of energy and clarity on what we do, both the products, the business models. For me, we want to create technology so that everyone here can create more technology. Our success is going to be dependent on your success. In every country we participate in, we will measure our success not by the surplus we create for ourselves, but by the surplus that's created in the country we operate across all sectors of the economy. That's at the core. And to do that, we're building out this intelligent edge and the intelligent cloud as this new platform. In fact, we are building out the world's computing fabric, which is ubiquitous. We have over 50 regions of Azure around the world, more than any other public cloud provider. In France alone, we have 2 regions. In the Eurozone, we have 12 regions. That means in each region, we have multiple data centers. But we don't stop there. With Azure Stack, we're the only hyperscale provider who can take compute from any data center to your data center. We can take it to any edge device with Azure IoT. But most interestingly, 9 billion microcontrollers, because of Azure Sphere, can be turned into Azure connected compute nodes. So we have that very unique capability of taking everything from what is there in 50 regions right to a microcontroller and treating it as one distributed computing fabric that any developer can use to deploy their code and their experience. AI, of course, is going to be the runtime across all of this. And this will allow any developer, any startup, any large business to build this new generation of applications that are not going to be bound to a single device. They're going to span devices. They're not going to be bound to one input-output mechanism. They're going to span the senses. Because that's what, 5 years from now, we're not going to be talking about one device ruling our lives. It's going to be any surface that we touch is going to turn into our device, and we're going to touch many of them throughout the day. So that's the world that we envision. And talking about AI, we at Microsoft have been working with Microsoft Research for the last 27 years. In fact, right here in France, we've had a fantastic relationship with Indria and some of the big AI breakthroughs that they've been working on over the years. In the last just few years, since 2016, the breakthroughs have just been pretty stunning. One way to sort of think about AI prowess and AI progress is to measure by human parity. And we have first achieved human parity in object recognition through that ImageNet competition and the 152-layer ImageNet. Then it was speech recognition with the switchboard data set, machine reading and comprehension just earlier this year with the Stanford data set, and then just in March with machine translation. We now have the capability to do human-level performance across all of these perception capabilities. Of course, the real goal here is not about celebrating AI breakthroughs that we have had. It's about how do we democratize these breakthroughs so that every company can become an AI company, every developer can become an AI developer. That's at the core of our mission. So we've taken our breakthroughs, made it into a set of APIs, set of tools, set of capabilities in Azure that are available to every developer to be able to sort of really exercise the power of this technology. I just want to walk you through a few examples. One of the case studies that just came out, in fact, just this week, is out of Case Western Reserve and Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. And the reason it's fascinating is, in 2016, one of the researchers there was thinking about MRIs and how to make MRIs more effective, wrote a research paper which got published in Nature. They came up with this technique of fingerprinting MRIs. That means every tissue in our body has a signature. And they want to be able to recognize that signature in real time and compare it to a lookup table. Except the calculation is just too much. It can't be done in polynomial time. And so they said, wow, this is hard, but it's possible. So they wrote the research paper. Come last year, we put a quantum simulator on Azure. So they went to work on the simulator. So they came up with a new quantum-inspired algorithm, ran it on a simulator so that now they can do this mapping and the lookup using voxel-level data with essentially a massively parallel algorithm, and sort of figured out that they can, in fact, detect the cancerous tissue right while you're going through an MRI. So it can be an amazing, amazing breakthrough. So it just gives you a flavor for how developers everywhere are able to put together these technologies to come up with solutions for some of our pressing challenges like cancer cure. Now, going all the way to another extreme, in China, we've been working on a chatbot that is having conversations with humans. This is Xiaoai's. It has 500 million friends. It's available through 14 different channels in China. It's a bit of a celebrity. It writes poetry. It sort of is on TV all the time. Very popular. But here's the fascinating thing. The challenge that we have been trying to tackle is, how can an AI-driven chatbot have open-ended conversations? Not something that is a narrow domain, but open domain. Conversations with humans with EQ. Not just all the AI, but it needs to first acknowledge that it's an AI, it's a bot, not a human, but yet show EQ when interacting with a human being in this open-ended conversation. Let's roll the video to just give you a flavor for one such conversation, because it's not only having conversations in text, but it'll call you for a full duplex voice conversation on the phone. So I just want to give you a flavor for a conversation that starts in WeChat and then it transfers into a telephone call. Let's play the video. It's a fascinating example. It's a fascinating example of all the prowess of AI as well as the responsibility in AI. How can we infuse human qualities and especially human trust in conversations that we are going to have with AI around us, the interactions that we're going to have with AI around us. And so we're very, very excited. We're in the early stages of all of this, but we've made 1 million phone calls already in this full duplex mode in China, and obviously we'll continue to scale that. Now, yesterday morning, I had a chance to meet an entrepreneur right here in Paris, very young female entrepreneur. She started a company called Plastif. Cassandra had this dream of saying, look, there is something that I got to do about all of the plastic and how to recycle plastic. And so she came up with a machine that you can put in your office just like any other soda machine, except this machine has the following characteristics. You can take any piece of plastic, put it into it, it'll sort of recycle it by recognizing the object, and has a 3D printer on the top. and it'll print any object you want. So right there in real time, you can take a piece of plastic and turn it into a 3D object, so you recycle. I mean, it's amazing. It's what an amazing dream. But now, the thing that gets even more cool is not only did she dream this up, build the machine, but she built it with a dev team that went to this AI school I talked about this morning that Microsoft created. This AI school has people who are coming from all kinds of backgrounds, people who don't have a traditional computer science degree, but are able to learn AI techniques. In fact, the developer who put a Raspberry Pi in that machine, put a ResNet, basically CNN into it, was trained in the cloud. It's one of those APIs I talked about, customized it for the specific objects, and just put it into Raspberry Pi, and there you go. So this notion that you can democratize AI, for me even, it just came alive with this one entrepreneur story, the story of these developers coming together to create this. It's fantastic. And another startup here, a social startup called Econym, is someone that we've come to know quite well, because what they do is they take these cultural heritage sites, especially in war-torn parts in Syria and Iraq, and digitize them so that we can preserve our culture, our heritage as a humanity. And they're doing a fantastic job of using 3D and 3D reconstruction using AI in the cloud, as well as augmented reality capture in the device itself, to essentially help us persevere and preserve our culture. So let me just roll the video to give you a flavor for that.
Today, right now, historical sites are disappearing, but artificial intelligence can help us bring history back to life.
If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you go.
We use
Microsoft AI to help us reproduce historical places.
I need to make it possible because it's so important to do it.
To recreate the site, we had to stitch hundreds of pictures one by one.
With Microsoft Artificial Intelligence,
we are able to stitch hundreds of thousands of pictures in one night. Before, it was just a representation of the site. With this technology, you can go in, you can experience it.
Let's go in another place. I'm ready for the next one.
Artificial intelligence lets us experience our past. It helps us create our future.
I love that example, but we're also working with industry leaders right out of France to make sure that they have the best-in-class AI capability. AXA, we're helping them build their own agent. It's in prototype right now called Maxa, which is going to help them with their customers, really both across health, travel, insurance. We're also working with Schneider Electric. In fact, this morning we announced a joint creation of a lab and an incubation in Station F, where we're going to bring AI startups that can work with Schneider and Microsoft to help really move the state of the art around renewable energy and all the other parts of energy management. We're also working with startups that are doing social good. The president today talked a lot about how technology is not just about commerce where markets are working, but it's about being able to reach places where markets don't work as efficiently. But it's fantastic to see entrepreneurs who are going after this with technology. Inside Vision, again, I got a chance to see them yesterday. They're building a tablet with a special glass, which is indentations for Braille, with a full Braille reader. This is a Windows machine, which is going to be the same tablet that someone else who's a regularly able student can use. It's inclusiveness that is being brought to every school so that even anyone with visual impairment can fully participate in our economy. And another French startup that I was really amazed to see is, we know that one challenge that we all have all over the world is autism, which is on the rise. How do we help give kids with autism or people with autism more of an ability to communicate? And Help Picto is creating a tool, a language that allows everyone to communicate, both the parents and the children to communicate, for them to be able to make sure that they can participate fully in our families and in our society. These are amazing examples right here in France of not some very elite AI technology. It is about being able to democratize this technology so that any entrepreneur, any public or private organization can create more AI so that they can succeed with their core mission. That's what gives us our sense of purpose. So our goal is to empower every person and every organization in France to achieve more. And I want to close by introducing a dear friend of mine whom I've gotten to know in the last year. And he's a leader who has had a vision of how to transform his company in an industry that is going through massive change by really betting on and empowering his people. Please help me welcome Arthur Chaudhun, who's CEO of Publicis. Arthur, one of the things that, I guess it may be close to 5-6 months ago when I first met with you, you had this clear vision of what you wanted to do, not only to change Publicis, but to change the industry. But the thing that most struck me, which was exciting to me, was how you felt that the way to do that is not to be cool by association, but by creating AI inside the company that brings out the creativity inside the company so that you can serve your customers and clients better. And I found that very inspirational. And those are the kinds of partners we want to work with. And I know this Marcel project is very dear to your heart, and you're going to talk to them about it. But I just wanted to tell you and tell the audience how excited I am about the work you and your team are doing and to be a partner on this Marcel project.
Merci Satya, merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.